video is sponsored by K&F CONCEPT. In a world of pricey shiny new things, I thought it's time we got back to some bloomin' bargain hunting. So I've found 4 third-party Micro Four Thirds lenses under £100, 2 of which are under £50 actually, so absolute bargains. They're all tiny form factor and they're all incredibly interesting and overlooked in my opinion. I also think one of them is such good value that it makes sense to be in most photographers' camera bags. Let me show you what I've found and what they can do. Let's start with 2 ultra cheap 18mm options. Now my pet peeve with third-party Micro Four Thirds lenses is the focal length. I got loads of really quality glass, but it's like 50mm or 100mm, and when you have a 2x crop factor to deal with, it's like, what the heck am I gonna do with that? Take photographs of astronauts on the moon. So another criteria for these 4 lenses is they have to be usable, more standard focal lengths on the wider end. So 18mm is great, it gives you 35-ish millimeters in sort of full frame terms. And all of these lenses, to my knowledge, are also APS-C lenses, so you will be able to buy them for Sony and Fujifilm, etc., not just Micro Four Thirds. So this is the 7 Artisans 18mm f6.3. Very, very tiny, as you can see. And I bought this for $44.99, which you can't grumble at. And I have such a sad little soft spot for those Olympus body cap lenses, so much so that I have 3 of the blooming things. With the Olympus ones, the image quality isn't great, but if you just need to quickly grab your camera out of the bag and take a quick photo, it's great. You've already got a lens attached to it. And I have to say, this lens here is a huge step up in image quality from those, so don't worry about that. And a huge step up in build quality as well. Full metal build quality for $44.99, are you kidding? But despite all the metal, it's still super duper light and very, very snazzy looking on your camera body. So realistically, I think a little bit of vignetting is to be expected, but we'll call it a stylistic choice and not a bug. And I think with a fixed aperture of f6.3, we're looking to use this on brighter days only. But if you do happen to find a brighter day, I think you can get some really good images out of this little lens. It's super duper sharp in the middle with a bit of fall off towards the edges. Again, as you'd probably expect for the price. But if you are looking for something that's just really simple to use, you can't change the aperture, you've got very simple focus controls, you can just pick up your camera and go and keep the form factor super duper small, I think it's a cracking little lens and I'm glad that I took a punt on it. Another striking looking little lens, also 18mm 6.3, is this SG Image lens, which is a brand I've never bought anything from before, so this is my first attempt. This one was £42.20. Now I think the SG Image lens looks really cool, and it has a lens hood, but for like a lens of this size, I'm never going to use a lens hood for it. Where this lens falls down for me is the focus lever, and also if you push the focus lever all the way closed, there's like a little sort of door that closes on the lens. So that's infinity. And it's just so easy to close. This is where it loses me because the front element of this lens is embedded so deeply I don't think you need that much protection, and it's very simple to go from the focus to closing the lens accidentally, like if you knock it in your pocket or your bag for example. You can bring the camera to your eye and it's completely black. Now I don't know if it was just a bad copy or if it was user error somehow, but I struggled to get many sharp images out of this lens. The focus peaking inside the camera triggered fine, it all looked like it should, but then when I got back to the computer things were quite soft. That absolutely wasn't the case with the 7 Artisans body cap lens, plus the build quality, style and the focus mechanism is much better on that lens. So between the two, I'd definitely pick the 7 Artisan 18mm. So this is a video all about experimental, fun, affordable camera stuff, right? What a perfect segue to show you this K&F CONCEPT RGB light. I use this a ton. You'll have noticed it a lot in my B-roll, my product shots, even behind me, sometimes when I shoot videos. It's such a fun product. You can change the color of the light, you can add in different inserts, and if you want to have a little bit of a creativity and fun in your photography, this is a really good way to add a bit of spruce into your images. And another practical, pragmatic thing that we often forget as photographers is sometimes the boring purchases help you a ton. I love the K&F light stands, for example. They're excellent quality, really, really sturdy, and it pairs perfectly with this RGB light. So if you want something fun to go along with your new manual cheap lenses, check out the light. If you want to be a sensible adult photographer and improve upon your day-to-day life, check out the light stands. Check out the links in the description, and let's get back to the nerdiness. Now we're getting into it. Let's look at two very interesting 10mm lenses. One is rectilinear, so the line stays straight. One is fisheye in style, so we have some of that curvy-wurvy fisheye goodness. These are both very interesting lenses. Both have a 20mm focal length equivalent on the Micro Four Thirds system with the 2x crop. First, let's look at the Brighton Star 10mm f5.6 fisheye. This is a stunning, stylish little number, I think. When I saw this online, I was like, yeah, that looks really cool. I think third-party lenses in general just look more cool than a lot of the native lenses, to be honest. And I really like the form factor. I own a couple of fisheye lenses, and they can really get big in size. Particularly the native lenses are massive. The other third-party ones, like 7 Artisan and Lauer, are still significantly bigger than this 10mm one. Of course, you have a more narrow aperture as a consequence, but if you want a small, portable, just in case sort of fisheye, this is a great tiny option. You know, you forget how fun fisheye photography is. I came in with the rectilinear lens and it got some lovely shots. The lines are very straight, but I actually think in this circumstance the barrel distortion of this fisheye makes it look a little bit cooler. I'll put some side-by-sides on and you can decide for yourself. Objectively, the rectilinear cookie lens is a better value proposition, but for a fisheye on a bright day, this is so much fun. I found this lens for £76.49, so it's a really good sort of price point if you want to treat yourself and have a bit of an experimental photography session with a lens that gives you a really unique look. My favourite other third-party fisheye lens is the 7 Artisan 2.8. It's a bit bigger, but you have a better aperture. So if you wanted to take fisheye photography a little bit more seriously, you can pick that up, I think, for maybe double the price, so it's still cheap, but not as cheap. And you do have the f2.8 aperture there as well. So, my final and best pick, the one I think that should be in everyone's camera bag because it's so lemon cheap. Here we have the 7 Artisan 10mm f3.5 rectilinear lens. It's called a cookie lens. How cute is that? The cookie. And all the numbers and etchings are in fun colours as well. It's so cute and so well built. It's all made of metal. And I don't know if my copy is just a bit weird, but my aperture ring is super duper stiff versus the focus ring. And I don't know if it's a feature or a bug, but it makes using the lens without looking down at it super easy, because if one has a bit more resistance than the other, you know where your hand's at. And the aperture ring is clicky anyway, so it's definitely a photocentric lens. And I personally much prefer a clicky aperture so that you've got a bit of resistance and things don't move by accident. So rectilinear, these tend to be super duper pricey. Lauer have a great selection of rectilinear lenses, and they're probably like the industry standard on Micro Four Thirds. The official one in the Lumix lineup would be the Lumix Leica 9mm f1.7, which is stunning, don't get me wrong, but it's super expensive. The cookie, on the other hand, £89.99. So it's the most expensive one on this list, but still under 100 quid. Decent, and it feels really, really premium for the price as well. This little cookie lens significantly undercuts the price of the Lauer equivalents. And yes, I know the Lauer ones are a little bit more premium. They have a sort of an f2 or an f2.8 aperture usually. But if you want something that's like affordable and still great quality, you can't grumble for 89 quid. Sometimes when you're out and about, you might need a zoom lens, you might need a wide angle lens, and it might be for just the odd photo here and there. And that's where I think lenses like this come in handy, because you don't need to splash out £1,000 on a big fancy one. You can just grab a little tiny third-party one just in case. And then if you find that you fall in love with that genre of photography, then maybe you can upgrade it later. Maybe you won't even need to because the quality is still really good. So the cookie lens is 125 tiny little grams. It is a 20mm full frame equivalent. So nice and wide, but not crazy wide. It's still a lens that you could walk around and do street photography with or do architecture shots with because it's rectilinear. It's a really versatile little lens to have in your toolkit. At f3.5, as you would probably expect, for the price, we do have softer edges, a little bit of vignetting, but at the center it's sharp. And I actually quite like the look of it at f3.5. You know, it's not as clinical as the Lumix Leica 9mm, but it's got a lot of character. And if you do want it to be sharper, you can always stop it down a little bit, light permitting. So I find this lens really easy to use, very, very small, very, very affordable, and I like the look of the images as well. And it does have a filter thread, so you can use it for video or for any other filtery sort of shots. So which one was your favourite? I think you can tell that the cookie is my favourite. I'll link in the description as much as I can. I've found these on sort of like Amazon, AliExpress, eBay, things like that. So you do sometimes have to root around for your sort of regional supplier. But they're out there, they're ready available, and they're super duper affordable. And sometimes you just want to go out and have some fun, don't you? Find a cheap lens, try something new, and go and have fun. And that's what I've done in this video and thoroughly enjoyed it.